Speaking of terrible, Dr. Anthony Fauci, America's favorite beagle killer, is at it again, shifting the COVID goalposts. He says federal health officials are shying away from the term fully vaccinated and opting for something much more vague. Watch.
We're using the terminology now, keeping your vaccinations up to date, rather than what fully vaccinated means. Right now, optimal protection is with a third shot of an mRNA or a second shot of a J&J.
Then why are there so many breakthrough infections? And how long before we get vaccine punch cards? Get 9 shots, your 10th is free. All right, let's get into it with tonight's party panel. We've got New York Post columnist Carol Markowitz, attorney and Democrat strategist Kelly Hyman, and comedian and host of the Part of the Problem podcast, Dave Smith. He is back with us. Welcome, everyone. So, Carol, I will start with you. It's endless, and at some point it becomes meaningless.
Right. At some point, none of us will be vaccinated up to date, as Fauci describes. And the thing is that the mandates make even less sense in a situation like that. I get my flu shot most years. Some years I forget. Some years I get busy and don't have the time. The idea that I wouldn't be able to eat inside a restaurant the years I don't is absurd. And the fact that we've seen with Omicron that the vaccine does not prevent you from getting and spreading the virus. So what are we doing here? Why are we forcing people into this? It makes no sense to me. And Fauci has just been the worst spokesperson this entire time. He should not be on our televisions. If Joe Biden wants to fix his image, he should get Fauci off of our TV.
And Kelly, I had COVID, and then I got vaccinated because I never wanted to get COVID again because I got so sick and was so miserable. And then I got COVID again from a vaccinated person. So, you know, you say to follow the science. What should I be following?
Well, Kennedy, thank God nothing happened to you where you died or anything like that, because as you said that you're vaccinated. But well, because I'm talking to you right now. I hope not.
Matrix is real.
You know?
And I don't think, you know what, that's not how the vaccines were sold. And I actually have a big problem with the, well, at least you're not dead. No, the vaccines were sold as 95% effective, as this revolutionary technology that Anthony Fauci had been working on for over 30 years. So, you know, we all took the mRNA vaccine, and now we're being told you're not in the morgue. You should be very, very happy. Thank you, Kelly.
Look, we have to follow the science. You know, I know someone that passed away because of complications of COVID, and no one should go through that. My thoughts and prayers are with anyone that had COVID, and I believe that at some point I had COVID as well. But we have to learn how to protect ourselves and what's the best way to do it. And that's why, as you said, it's a personal decision. People can make their own mind, but following the science and getting vaccinated helps people. And the science shows that if you do get vaccinated and you are vaccinated and you have a breakthrough case, that you're not ending up in the hospital and heaven forbid dying because of it, because you are vaccinated, that is protecting you.
Dave, there's so much of this that I have a problem with. My biggest problem is we had $5 trillion go to COVID treatment and therapy, yet this administration has doubled and tripled down on the vaccine and the vaccine alone. They stood in the way of test manufacturer. They stood in the way of at-home test companies because they said clinics and hospitals would handle it. And now people can't get tests. They get false negatives. That's how people are getting sicker. And the CDC, the science, has told us for almost a month now that you could get all sorts of breakthrough infections with Omicron, regardless of your vaccination status. So why is that the only thing they are pushing?
Yeah, well, how long can we be told to follow the science when the science you insist we follow has been wrong about everything for nearly 2 full years now? And when the science, you know, when notable scientists and doctors argue against the COVID regime, well, they get banned on Twitter, they get banned on YouTube, they get silenced, and there's certainly almost nobody in the corporate press who's having any of these voices on. Look, the reality of the situation here is that as it makes less and less sense to argue for the vaccines, as we go from, we're going to say they're 95% effective to 75% to 65% to, we don't really know if they're effective at all. Now the mandates are getting more and more intense, and it makes absolutely no sense. There's no logic to it. There's no logic to why, if the vaccines are so important, that vaccinated people in a restaurant need to be protected from unvaccinated people. And they demonize anybody who talks this way, like you're an anti-vaxxer. But the truth is that if we're doing what Fauci is saying we're doing here now, we're locking in guaranteed government-enforced profits for pharmaceutical companies indefinitely. These are pharmaceutical companies that are shielded from liability. They have lied to the American people about what these vaccines were going to do. This is an outrageous scam, and all the while they've been demonizing all of the treatments that come out. They demonize every single treatment that people push that is not patented and trademarked by one of these big pharmaceutical companies.
Why aren't they?
This whole thing stinks.
Why aren't they pushing fluvoxamine? You know, the Wall Street Journal had a great editorial about how that's $4 for a treatment of fluvoxamine. You can't even get monoclonal antibodies in this city, and that's upwards of $4,000 to $5,000. And, you know, ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine, we weren't allowed to do adequate science because those treatments were so incredibly politicized. So, yes, lives were lost, people were sickened because the focus on treatment was so incredibly, inexcusably diminished. Party panel is going to stick around because we will party, don't you worry. Coming up, speaking of which, California was the first state to legalize cannabis. So why is the marijuana industry having so many problems there? Here's a hint. It has to do with dumb, bloated government, and that is next.